Okay, well, at this point, of course, I do feel a little bit better now that a few hours have passed, and of course, this video, it's being recorded on the same day that the last one uploaded was, but I don't know when I'm going to upload this one. I've kind of got a few things to take care of, but did decide I feel a little more refreshed and kind of decided to come on here and demonstrate to you all some things about patterns here. And because I have just created a new pattern, and I mean, one day I'm going to demonstrate to you all how I create them or how I draw them, but today we're going to look at some pieces as to how we cut them out. Now, I do want to introduce you all to a few things here. First of all, we're talking about sewing monkeys here today, so among the patterns I've got to show, first of all, this is monkey pattern A. You will notice that there had to be some changes, and of course this little part, the butt that I put on, that's just one of my old quirks, but found out that couldn't come out so neat when I made it, so I took that off when I started to cut out and sew up many more of these. And from what I have left of those, here's this one. The problem at first was that it was hard to bring the ears out and the tail out and bring the feet out. You notice they kind of will get a little unraveled there. That is because I had the tail and the arms and the legs too thin. So it was harder to turn them out and more of a struggle because I made them too thin. And to kind of get past that, I sort of like stretch things out a little bit more to make pattern B, which had a wider tail and wider legs and hands. So when I started to work on that, they started to come out like this. Now, the problem that I had lately was that people started seeing my monkeys and thinking they were cats. Now, of course, any of the newer ones like these haven't been out on the displays yet, but ones like these have, and there's probably a lot of reason they do seem like cats to people, but I figured out some of those things. For one thing, you will kind of notice that the backs of the ears are the same color as the fur, and the insides of the ears are the same color as the face. That is probably one thing where the back and front of the ears are different, and second of all, where you see that the backs of the hands and feet are kind of different, and the insides are like paws, like cats, of a different color, and with the back being the same color as the rest. And that is another thing that I guess I'd say is just more common in a cat. So I decided to kind of rearrange it and make monkey pattern C, which is what this is. I have folded the paper in to make the legs a little shorter and drawn a little more lines, drawn a little curve down here for the butt, and made the tail a little wider, a little further down, redrew it, widened some of it out. And I redid the face so that rather than the face looking like a human face like the other one did, try to make it look more like a monkey face. And when we come down to it, I'm going to make it so there's going to be more tabs cut out so the backs of the ears are the same color as the inside of the ear, which is the same as the color of the face. And I have also made it so for these I put little thumbs out to make them like hands and feet like monkeys have. So, and the backs of these, outsides of these, are going to be the same color as the insides of these. And once it comes down to make it, we're probably going to use felt to make that part, because, and the face, so that it'll all be the same. And probably because felt gives us more options of color than denim, and because it's easier to turn out littler lines and littler pieces in felt than it is in denim. So I'm going to demonstrate now with these copies how I cut out the different pieces of the pattern. And as you will see, I take it and I make several copies on Xerox on cardstock so that we have a thicker material for the pattern when we trace it onto the fabric. And you will note that I put these tabs in here on places where it's on the edge of the pattern that is cut out, and that is something that I do just so that we can have the tabs on the fabric where they need to be, and later we'll cut out a copy without the tabs, and that's going to make it so that we will know where to draw the lines beyond the tabs when we cut it out. But this is something that I'm going to demonstrate first of all how I do it. I am going to first of all cut along here to make the outside of the body. So this is something where we're going to kind of cut along this curve that makes the little tail, and make another little cut in there, and we're going to draw a few more lines here, make it so it looks the way it ought to look for a good old monkey's face. And what I forgot to mention was that in this one I also put a widow's peak in there like a monkey has, because it would be hard to tell what it is without that widow's peak. So I decided to put that into the new pattern when I made it. And this is something where we just sort of cut along these little tabs to make it so it's going to turn out good and right, and make it so it makes its way to us. And I say, of all things, a little work comes along to do this, and wow, we're going to make it a longer way up to the front. And there's certain lines we cut along to make this, and you have to make sure you get the right lines for the right piece, because a lot of drawing goes into this to make sure that we get all the patterns in the right places and get all the pieces the way they ought to be. So we come along this way, and so we're going to cut it out, and it's going to turn out like this with all the tabs in the right places. And we're going to put this one aside. We're going to kind of take another one here, and we're going to cut the same pieces out, except we're going to cut without, and we're going to cut on the main lines, leaving the tabs out of it, because that is how it's going to need to be traced when we make the lines on which we are going to sew. So once we get done with this piece of work, it's going to kind of come to make it a little better, and finally make it so it comes right on the line where it's supposed to be. And I keep my pieces in separate folders, the pieces with tabs and the pieces without, so I can keep them separated and know what to trace one time and what to trace the next time to make it turn out the way it is supposed to be. So we've come down to making it this far into the work, and that's how we got these. You can notice the differences here between how one has tabs and the other does not. So there's kind of little additional steps to take. For this one, we're going to cut out this little piece that makes the underside. So we kind of cut it along here so we get along the tabs and make it out so it comes out real nice and easy, and then it's going to be the work that it's created to be. So, and I will tell you a little thing about these two tabs here, because this is going to be cut out as in two pieces. Two of these are going to be cut out, and they're going to be sewn together here to make the upper part of the underside and here to make the lower part. And what I forgot to mention is that I made the chest and the arms a little taller there in this one, so that way it can look a little more monkey-like. And so we're going to do the same on this little one here, and we're going to cut it here with and leave the tabs out this time. So I'd say some work shall come and this shall go, and make it so we will see greater things to come. And I'll show one last time what the difference is, and you can see between these two pieces how one has tabs and the other doesn't. So that's going to be the way we'll do that one. On this very same piece, it just so happens that we're able to cut out the face as well, because we have things separate enough here that'll make it work that way. So we've kind of got to cut along these lines, and sometimes I don't always think logic about the ones that can be used for more than one piece whenever I cut these out. So that's just a little future thing to think about. And we're coming out with the face just here. It's going to make everything right and show how it's all going to be, make it all so it shines and makes us all good people, I say. So we're going to cut along here along the widow's peak now, kind of make it so we got the nose to come out here the way it should be, and this is how we have finally gotten out the face. And I'd say there's one we have here from which, with this one, we don't need the tabs, so we can cut along the face without cutting out the tabs, and we can leave the tabs out of this one as we cut along it. So try to make it so it comes out straight and right, and so we see it shall all be wonderful as it can be, and see the things it's going to make when we finally come down to the last little bit of piece here. I'm going to show you the differences between these two pieces for the face, how one has tabs and one doesn't, as you can see. So that's going to go along there. And this time around, we're going to get out a piece from which we can cut out the two pieces for the hands. So we're going to cut out in the feet, that is, we're going to cut out the hands and the feet where the tabs are going to stay on this time, but we're going to take the work along with it and make it so it's going to come out better and nicer. I say that we got a back hand, and we're going to cut out a front hand as well. And I'm getting my hands and feet confused because after all it is a monkey, so feet look like hands on monkeys and apes, and that's pretty much how it turns out. So we're working along on this, trying to get it to come out the best way we can make it come out. And so these are the two pieces that make the front hand and the back foot. So that's how that's coming along. We will find another old piece here and find a few more little things to cut out along the lines. One of these we've already kind of goofed up on, so it's too late to cut out the hands on that, but on this one the hands are here. The whole hand without the tab is on the paper, so we are just going to cut it out here and won't need to worry about leaving out the tab because it's going to be where it's already cut out of the picture. So try to go along this line, make the front and the back, make it so it's special, unique, and all things I say, and pretty much a lot of work. So I'd say we kind of got the front hand and the back foot here. We're going to lay them aside on this one, and it just so happens that on as of what we have left of these, there is probably one here on which we can cut out the inside of the ear, because for the way this work is had to come along now, I say we're working into it, making it so it's gonna reach out and make better things of us. And finally we come down to cutting out the little piece for the outer ear. So, and the outer ear is going to be attached to the body piece, so that's what we're going to need right here. And this one already has the ear on it without the tab, so we can just kind of go ahead and cut the ear out here and where it doesn't have the tab on it, and kind of make it so it's going to be its own little piece here. And there's probably just maybe, I've got to see if there's anything left to do, just checking over things. I'd say probably at this point we have pretty much gotten it all, and it has turned out that we ended up finishing this project. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, in 5 pieces of cardboard, that is, cardstock. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I kind of miscalculated and thought we were going to need 8 pieces, but you know, y'all overlook things too easily. You never know what you're going to finish up with. And so I'd say for the work we got here, we've got a little things to come along. And what I want to mention about these hands is that there's going to be 2 pieces that cut out for the hands. One that's going to be attached to the outer body and one that's going to be attached to the underside for each. And they're going to be sewn together just like that. So I'd say for the work we've got here, it's all coming out as good as it needs to be. And there has been a video before, if I remember correctly, where I did the walruses for you, where in that one I probably demonstrated how I trace things onto the fabric and trace it without the tab and cut it out and sew it together. So you've pretty much seen how I do that part of the work. And so I was happy to come on here today and share all of this. I want to thank you all for watching, and take care and be safe.